is finally cleared up after being iffy all day long, and now it looks as though all systems seem to be go here at the Kennedy Space Center. And that, of course, is a huge relief to everybody involved. They've been waiting for this moment really for years. This has been years in the planning, the years in the developing, and now that moment is finally here. So why don't we pipe down here and just listen to launch control and see how this goes. Well, looks like we are on
regime, and we've passed that hurdle, and the next thing that will be coming up is the shutdown of the 9 engines in the first stage. That'll be very rapidly followed by separation of the stages and ignition of the MVAC vacuum engine, the second stage engine, to take us up into orbit.
See President Trump clapping there. It all seemed to, it looked picture perfect, was it?
As far everything so far is nominal. It's really looking like a good flight, and we got a ways to go here. So, but so far it was beautiful. It's just like dreamlike to see that thing actually take off.
Yeah, it's exciting to watch it, no matter how many times you've seen it before, and nobody has probably seen it more than Bill. So, but what were your thoughts? Is it finally lifted off the pad, and we're actually in this new space era?
Well, we've seen a lot of Falcon 9s take off, and from that perspective, the launch looked exactly like all the others we've seen. The difference this time is, there are 2 human beings on board, and that gives it a whole different sense of urgency, no question about it. I want to say we're looking at a camera now that's on the rocket itself, looking back at the Earth. You're getting ready to see stage separation, where the first stage will shut down its engines, fall away, and then the flight will continue on the power of the second stage engine.
Falcon stage separation confirmed.
The view you have on the left side of your screen is looking up at the second stage from the first stage, and the view on the right side is actually the view of the second stage engine, which is now lighting up. It'll glow red hot. That's how it actually cools itself down. And that first stage will turn around and come on back, and we'll attempt to land it on a ship.
I mean, we've heard a lot of talk about how this is fully automated. So what is it that the astronauts at this point are responsible for? Are they just along for the ride, or is there something more to it?
At this point, they are monitoring the performance. They're looking at their screens to see if they are heading in the right direction at the right speed. There's really only one command that they can use at this during ascent, and that is there's a big handle right there. You see in the left screen in the middle of the 2 of them. If you pull that, it will light up the Super Draco escape system, and you hear them in the background talking about different 2A, 2B. These are different things that the Super Dracos will do if you pull that handle right now, or if it automatically goes right now.
And Mark, just to jump in real quick, these views we're seeing from inside the cockpit, we've never seen live video of U.S. astronauts in a rocket during launch on a U.S. spaceship. The Russians have done this for years, but we've never seen this view for an American launch.
When Garrett mentioned the escape system, let's talk about that a little bit, because that also factored into the weather that we were talking about. It wasn't just weather here on the launch pad, but weather all the way up the East Coast in the Atlantic, really all the way to Ireland, just as a contingency plan. I want you to explain to folks how exactly that's going to work, and making sure that the astronauts always have a way out if something really should go wrong.
Yeah, so the spacecraft has Super Draco engines. There are 8 of them in pairs of 2 in these 4 pods. And if the Falcon 9 is having a bad day, they can light up. Now, early on, they would take the trunk with them if that would happen, and the trunk fins would provide stability in the atmosphere. Now, at this point, they would just leave without the trunk, and they can get away from the Falcon 9 very quickly, and in fact have that luxury of that system all the way up to orbit, which is something we didn't have during shuttle.
And depending when heaven forbid that it needed to happen, but depending when it happened, they would land somewhere in the Atlantic, and it could go, all the way to Ireland, right?
That's correct. So actually we avoid the North Atlantic on purpose. At first we will turn back and head to Nova Scotia, basically Halifax, and then once we get a little further along, we actually will speed up with the Super Draco engines and head to Shannon, Ireland. So we will not come down to that nasty North Atlantic.
And Bill, I have to imagine that everybody at this point is just thrilled with how this has all gone so far.
Absolutely, but talking about that crew escape system, the Air Force is still standing by. They have crews stationed in Joint Base Charleston, South Carolina, at nearby Patrick Air Force Base, although they're now beyond the realm where Patrick would come to their aid. But if there was something unexpected that happened that did make them ditch into the ocean, as Garrett said, avoiding the North Atlantic, the rescue crews on base at Charleston would immediately take off and search these guys down and help them out. But so far, an absolutely picture-perfect launch.
Garrett, did you hear anything at all that struck you as, because it's easy to watch and assume everything's going well, but sometimes if you listen with a trained ear to what the launch controller is saying, you pick up little subtle cues that they're worried about something or thinking about something. Was there any sign of anything?
Yeah, no, so far everything seems absolutely perfect. Everything is nominal.